So on Patrick Bet Davis' show, I made the second to last time I was on, I made a case for paid family leave. They polled their audience. 75% of that right-wing audience said, yes, we should pass paid family leave. Who else has done that? And for that, I get called a collaborator, and I implicate.
First off, if that's true, if their audience, and what was the pre-polling, but if their audience pre-polling was at like 1% support, and then after you came on the show, it's a 72% support, good. No one's going to criticize that. No one has a problem with that. Here's what people have a problem with. That Cenk is trying to do Glenn Greenwald. He's trying to Glenn Greenwald, and he's really bad at it. that's my quickest summary of the entire thing. You try to do a Glenn Greenwald, but you couldn't quite pull it off. But they're working through it, and so someone had to finally ask them what the fuck is going on.
Think about how what you're doing reflects on TYT as a whole or on individual hosts at all. I personally feel implicated by a strategy that I do disagree with. Or do you think, well, I'm doing the right thing, so everything I do should reflect beautifully on everyone who works at TYT?
See, this is a way of getting me, like, saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds. So you're implicating
I'm not trying,
a strategy I don't agree with. Well, but what am I supposed to do? Not do the strategy I believe in because it might implicate people on the network?
I think I'm asking for empathy. I'm just asking for empathy, Cenk. It's just being a little empathetic.
No, I don't think that's about empathy. I think.
No. I mean, why would you laugh at that, right? Like right off the jump, just straight up like, this is not about you. There are greater causes. I want to have a beer with fascists. Let me have my beer.
What you guys are asking for, and this is why I'm not on the far left, is you're saying, since we don't agree with your strategy and your strategy implicates us, you really, if you were empathetic and a good person, you wouldn't do your strategy. And I don't agree. I think my strategy is way better and will protect all of us much better. And so I'm not going to purposely do the wrong strategy because it implicates people on the far left. If you say, hey, I'm so implicated, I'm going to leave. This is unconscionable to me, as some did, great. I got no problems with it. Everybody makes their own choices, but I'm not pushing anybody out. You get this, everybody gets to stay. Everybody gets to have their own opinion. They get to have it passionately. They get to fight me on it. They get to fight everyone on it. They get to make their case.
Unless you want to unionize. Yeah, then
can't do any better than being super open-minded and allowing everybody to make their case. If you say, Cenk, you shouldn't make your case because some of us feel implicated by it, well, that's your problem, not my problem. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, about that, I'm reminded of the book by, I think his name is Michael Schneider, on tyranny. And he wrote, it's like 20 lessons from the 20th century about authoritarianism and fascism. And one of the things that has come to mind when you say my strategy will protect us is he has this chapter, I'm going to bring it up, the first part of it, called Do Not Obey in Advance. And he writes, most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. In other words, you don't have to do the sort of crackdown on the left around speech because I'm going to do it for you. Or you don't have to come to me.
Cracking down. Again, you're misstating it. I'm doing the exact opposite. You're cracking down by saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds. So you should stop with your stupid opinion. And because you're implicating me.
I feel like there's a real,
that's what you're saying.
Cenk, I feel like there's a real misunderstanding of power in your mind. And I don't know why.
I think you're hiding behind this power dynamic.
No. I'm being totally honest. I am a contributor to TYT that I go on every time you guys ask. I step in a pinch often. Sometimes I don't.
You do.
I've been asked less and less as of late. Jordan has sort of eclipsed me. It's fine. I don't give a shit. But like I am but a mere contributor. I make very little money from this show. I'm really grateful to the people who support it. Again, you have founded the TYT. You've been the head of TYT. You're one of a stalwart in broader progressive left of center media discussions, like what you do is far more impactful than what I do. I'm just being honest with you. Like,
Okay.
you have a huge footprint. You have
It's a good thing I have the right strategy.
And when you go on shows, and you go on stages, again with Charlie Kirk, it looks like an apology tour. You
Well, you're wrong about it.
you implicate not just everyone who's worked with you and everyone who is ostensibly on your side, but it basically makes it seem like it cheapens everything that we've done and we've built. That's why I can't sleep at night. That's why I feel sick when I see you on these shows. Like, I'm just being, I mean, I guess I'm nuts. I guess I'm totally crazy, and I should just trust you and say, yes, we need you're doing the right thing. You're protecting us.
No, you don't have to say
all
that.
I am doing is I'm filled with absolute despondency, like, truly. And I can't believe that a guy who I used to admire and who I thought had a lot of fight is trying to scratch the back of people who absolutely would never do the same for them.
So we just spent an hour and a half me explaining how I'm not scratching their back. I'm trying to get.
But I can show you more clips,
to agree
man.
with us on things we believe in and we've always believed in. And you go back to scratching their back.
At least the trains will run on time.
That's a reference to Mussolini. It's nice to hear her articulate that so well, though. Yeah, I think that's the sentiment that a lot of people were thinking or feeling, right? Especially people like, of all the people at TYT, I was never a massive Cenk fan. I find that he's just kind of like very attack dog, which, can be useful in certain situations. But there's other people where I'm like, I actually deeply respect them and their views and opinions, and I think that they're always usually very consistent in what they say. And Fran's one of those people, and so it's really nice to hear her say that out loud, because I'm sure that's what a lot of people are just feeling at this moment in time.
No. So let's end on this, because this is monumentally important. So I say everybody's allowed to have their opinion. You say when I have my opinion, I'm hurting other people. But that's, do you, hold on.
You're hurting a broader movement, yeah.
Hold on. Do you not get that privileges your position and says my position is obviously the correct one and the moral one? And since you have the incorrect immoral one, you are implicating me in your immorality and your wrongness. So you really shouldn't do that, because that's being immoral to me and other people who agree with me. Because since you're so obviously wrong and immoral about this, you're implicating me in your immorality.
With great power comes great responsibility. That's what I'm saying.
It is definitely the correct position.
I'm saying with great power comes great responsibility. I'm giving you.
I'm so accepting. But you've gone off the reservation and you've gone rogue, Cenk. So now it is your fault for implicating the beloved far left, who are clearly.
As the leader of the Max Left, we should have had I should have designed it in time, like a Cenk's ego meter, so you could just in real time show it increasing in power. Really
have the correct position, but you really don't have the correct position. And you don't represent the left. So please stop pretending you represent the left when the voting and the polling clearly showed you don't. And it's not wrong to be center left. You think that it's like center left is like, no, it's, I don't know what you think it is, MAGA or whatever. But you want to talk about the power
I said it's Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi having a baby, Cenk. I think ultimately you just need to embrace your centrism, my guy. I think you're just more of a centrist than you think.
I just explained it, but you don't want to hear it. I said it earlier, Franny. I'm not talking about the disgusting centrism of Manchin and all of that the mainstream media lied to us and called centrism. That's radical.
What's wrong with Manchin? Manchin works with both sides. He's a perfect example of what you're doing.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Manchin is the establishment. The fact that you can't see the difference between a left-wing populist who despises the establishment,
who's a right-wing populist,
who loves and is the establishment,
who's a right-wing populist,
you can't see that difference is stunning.
Who's a right-wing populist? Who is a right-wing populist? Name him. Who's a right-wing populist?
Please, not Matt Walsh. Oh, sorry, Matt Gaetz. I always get those two confused for pretty self-evident reasons. Please don't say Matt Gaetz. Is it Matt Gaetz? Don't be Matt Gaetz.
On Patrick Bet-David show is definitely a right-wing populist. Dan Holloway on Drinking Bros is definitely a right-wing populist.
Vinny on PBD thinks that the Biden administration blew up the bridge in Baltimore.
He does. That's right. Because they're not saints, and they don't agree with us.
Who's a right-wing populist in office?
Wait, the leader of the Penis Balls Dick podcast. Oh man, I was gonna go over some of his clips like as its own segment. I guess I get a chance to just quickly look at one of them now. I don't buy into the idea of white privilege.
Privilege. So let me get this straight. So that means somebody has privileges over me because they're white?
No.
Really?
No.
You really believe that? I don't buy
Not what it means.
that. I had somebody that messaged me on Facebook a couple of days ago saying, you know, because I posted the fact that I was in the military as somebody being Middle Eastern, and this person said, you know, I really feel bad. I have to really, you know, understand what it must feel like as a Middle Eastern man to be in the army and be judged and discriminated. And yeah, I do know, I understand I have white privileges, but I'm getting a better feeling about it lately that I have some privileges you don't have. Who made you decide that you have privileges that I don't have? Who are you to even say that? Like, seriously, let me get this straight. I came from a broken family. Parents got a divorce. Mom ran out of money, went back to Iran. I joined the army. Okay. Yes, I didn't have the fanciest life. We never lived in a house. I don't know what it is to have money, but I decided to create privileges for myself. I like good food. So I went on.
Didn't he run an MLM scam? An insurance MLM scam? I mean, that's more of a testament to living the American dream than anything else, right?
Worked hard. I created privileges for myself. I got in an industry of financial services day before 9/11 as a Middle Eastern man. And 9/11 was caused, the last time I checked, by folks from the Middle East. And that's when I got into the industry. I didn't say, oh my gosh, let me not go sell stocks and money under management and insurance.
See, I think the problem is just the word privilege is like tripping a lot of people up because they hear it and then they just feel like they want to twist it into some other weird upside down version of like white superiority. It's not that. It's like you can have a really hard life and still be white. Right? You could be poor as fuck. You can come from a broken home. You could be abused. You could have parents who are never around. You could be white and gay. There's a lot of other reasons why you could be white and have a really hard time. You can face class oppression. You can face sexual discrimination. You can face gender discrimination. You can be born with severe depression. You can be born with a whole bunch of other things. But it's most likely not going to be that whiteness, your white skin, is going to be one of those vectors of oppression. And that people who do face racial oppression, you can learn something from that, because that sucks. Like, people don't have a trouble with this concept when they, encounter a friend who's like, I got kicked out of my house because I was gay. And like, wow, that's really hard. Yeah, I know that sucks. I agree. That sucks. That shouldn't have happened to you. That sucks. You faced sexual discrimination, and that shouldn't be the way the world works. And you should have parents that love you no matter what. And I'm sorry. And then if someone is like, hey, by the way, I get treated really differently than the police than I bet you do. Wait, are you saying that I'm a racist? No, I'm not saying you're a racist. I'm just saying that did you have this thing where when you walk down into like a supermarket, does the security guard follow you around the entire time watching your every move? When you talk to a cop, does the cop like stop and frisk you? Did you ever get profiled? Have you been profiled before? Do you know what profiling is? It's like, what? Oh, why do you got to talk about race? Bro, why are you making it all about race? Why would you bring that up? But those are a form of privilege that I, as a white-skinned person, experience. I have had many encounters with the police, and I've been able to talk myself out of every single one of them. That is a direct difference than people who are visibly indigenous, people who are black, friends who are black, friends who are brown that I've spoken to, where they get racially profiled all the time. That was not my lived experience. I don't get that. So that is a privilege that I had that I don't have. But that's not that I am suddenly superpowered. That I have been given some kind of gift that you don't have. It's that society treats you differently. We shouldn't do that. That sucks. Let's not do these things.
And annuities because I'm Middle Eastern. No, you don't have privileges over me because you're white. You don't. You don't have privileges over me because you're Middle Eastern. Matter of fact, on the census, it says white, African American, Native American, Pacific Islander, Asian. There is nothing in there that says Middle Eastern. And I still don't think you have privilege over me. I don't want my kids to grow up thinking, oh, they're a Syrian Armenian. They're not privileged because they're Syrian Armenian.
It's the word privilege that's really tripping people up. And they hear it and they're like, I don't want to live in a world where you think you've got some kind of like privilege over me. Like, I don't want to live in a world where people are discriminated against simply based on the amount of melanin in their skin. That's the problem. It already happens. It's already a thing that is happening. So we shouldn't keep happening. We should try to change that. That's the problem. So this apparently is Cenk's example of the populist right. Yeah. He's also someone who spreads so many vile transphobic and homophobic conspiracy theories and believes them. He's one of the people that propagates the idea that there are more queer people now because of social infectants, because of woke mind viruses, because of that kind of shit, because kids want to get more likes on the Instagram. So suddenly they're identifying as like things they may not be simply for popularity. That's not true. That's really fucked up. That's not moderate. That's not populist. Again, these are all just like vectors of oppression. He sucks.
Right-wing, is it Matt Gaetz? Who's your right-wing populist in office? Is it Marjorie Greene?
The new right-wing populist is absolutely clear. And see, guys, before I say the name, I know what's going to happen after I say the name. You're going to think of all the bad things he said about social issues, and you're going to think, oh my God, Cenk likes this guy. That's why I now hate Cenk. So I'm telling you, ahead of me telling you the name, no, I do not agree with him on the social and cultural issues, and I will fight him as hard as I possibly can on those. And I don't think that he's right on all the economic issues at all, but he has begun to be populist because he stopped taking corporate PAC money. Josh Hawley, that is now a right-wing populist. Tom Massey, a right-wing populist, okay? Those guys, Massey, you could say 1,000 terrible things about him, but he is honest. Everybody knows he's honest. He's honest to a fault, right? When he says some things, I'm like, whoa, that's freaking crazy, right? But are they actual right?
What is the strategy? I do not understand. Okay, I thought it was going to be Matt Gaetz. So I guess point to Cenk, it's not Matt Gaetz. But even in the example of Matt Gaetz, right, where you could be like, well, actually, Matt Gaetz has at times said that he is against the prison conditions for January 6th prisoners. Lance, you often talk about being an abolitionist. You often talk about abhorrent conditions in prisons. So surely you guys align on that. I was like, in what way, though? Because I feel like he's trying to protect his fucking, human trafficking pedophile allegations more than he actually cares about improving the conditions for everybody. Are you saying that if Matt Gaetz proposes the Matt Gaetz bill to protect Matt Gaetz that includes improving prison conditions for pedophiles, like Matt Gaetz, allegedly, that I'm supposed to then be like, Matt Gaetz is a good guy? No, he's still like a human trafficking rapist pedophile, allegedly, and that's horrifying. But if Matt Gaetz like voted on a bill to say abolish the prison industrial complex, private prisons, he voted on a bill, I wouldn't criticize that move. That specific move. If you want to talk about like how do you properly navigate these waters, that would be it. I wouldn't be like, I'm going to do a 1 hour special on fuck Matt Gaetz for voting on this thing. No, because in that moment in time, he's voting on something that aligns with my own personal things that I want to enact in the real world. So that's good. I'm not going to criticize that particular move, but I am still going to say that he is accused of trafficking children and raping them. I'm going to go after that because I want that to end as well. I want less children to be trafficked and abused by people like Matt Gaetz. So there you go. You don't have to be like, Matt Gaetz is a populist. Matt Gaetz cares. It's like, he doesn't, though. Same thing with Josh, right? When it comes to Josh Hawley, you could look at things and say it's a net benefit if every single politician didn't invest in the stock market, didn't take corporate money, didn't take money from super PACs that have very wealthy investors, and you can leave Josh Hawley out of it. Josh Hawley proposes a bill that makes it illegal for all politicians to trade in stocks of which they might have, say, a conflict of interest, Nancy Pelosi. Well, then you can take the criticism and separate it and be like, people should vote on this bill. The guy sucks. I'll be the first to say he's a monster. But at the same time, this bill could do good things for everybody. That you could separate the two. You don't have to say he's a populist and cares, because that's a lie. He's not. These are self-serving fucking sycophantic assholes and creeps and monsters and ghouls that you don't have to do the two things.
Populist, yes, they are. And the number one way you could tell if someone's going to be a populist is if they stop taking corporate PAC money.
Okay, I accept that. I accept that. I just want to say, lastly, I worry about our relationship because, I mean, I don't have to, like, we may grow distant, you know what I mean? I'm trying to delve more into my show. I still love going on John's show and Dr. Richie's show. That's in the TYT network. This show is on the podcast network of TYT. It's there's no money that really exchanges hands. You guys do help me with the podcast hosting, so I appreciate that. So I may owe y'all money. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm just being honest. Like,
you don't know anybody.
But you know what I mean. I'm being honest about what our arrangement is. But I worry because, we were but 5 minutes into this conversation, and you said Emma Vigeland likes the establishment, and it doesn't matter what she said. It doesn't. Hang on. It's not about what she said.
You said it. Wait, what? Is that a quote? Emma Vigeland just started the Majority Report one day. Is like, guys, just got to tell you all, I love the establishment. I love corporations. I love capitalism. Next segment. Let's start the next one. Said it.
Said. But it is concerning that there are so many former TYT employees, and let's put Doran Rubin aside, but people like Ben Dixon and Emma Vigeland, and even longtime contributors who were editors like Hank. I remember Hank, and like the fact that he helped start the TYT union and now has obviously
nothing.
Okay, but I knew Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such. I'm just saying. I'm telling you, these are. But okay, how I'm afraid, man. Like I'm next. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do. That I'm booted out of the castle, and suddenly it's us versus them. And they're so. What does it say about TYT? What does it say about you? That there's so many former employees who are on our side ostensibly, who you have so much disdain for.
So, Franny, if you're next and I have this secret nefarious plan to push people out, why am I on here? Why would I come on here and talk to you for now nearly 2 hours when if I'm planning to push you, that doesn't make any sense. So number two, some people have left the network, and don't exclude Doran Rubin, because Doran and Rubin and some others they went right, but some others went left or far left or whatever. But some group of them have the same agenda. Come watch me, come subscribe to me, not the Young Turks. I'm the morally pure one. I'm the right one. I'm the one that's right, and they're all evil and terrible. And don't give them money. Give me money, right? So let's keep it real. So is that everybody? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. So a good example is Mondale Robinson. I like Mondale, and he has the similar ideological problem as you do. And he decided one day, that's it, I'm quitting. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but bless his heart. That's what God made doors for. Okay. So, and now he's attacking me and saying I'm in league with racists and stuff like that. Okay. That's his opinion. Right. But when people cross a line like Rubin and Dorr and Sam Cedar, etc., and another.
How do you throw Sam Cedar into the mix? What the fuck? Like, that one's a really weird fucking. Sam Cedar has appeared. Sam Cedar is like one of the few people who has been so morally consistent during the course of like over 10 years of broadcasting, multiple different administrations. Yeah, like any other human being, if you talk into a microphone for like 4 hours a day, you're gonna have some wrong takes. But like overall, like him, Amy Goodman and Democracy Now!, like there's very few old established like leftist networks that are still, morally consistent, that aren't just chasing whatever is in closest proximity to the power. I don't know if she brought it up, but I would certainly question, what the fuck do you see in aligning with someone like Charlie Kirk? Like, that guy is an extremist. To sit across the table from Charlie Kirk, not to debate him, not to, argue with him about his points, but to be like, we need to be able to, come together and work for the populist interests of our nation and find where we align. Again, the guy's a monster. Like, how much did you have to basically push to the side? Like, oh, I disagree with him on a lot of issues, a lot of key issues, but like, there are things that we agree. Like, what? I would question what? What possible thing do you have? Like, I don't even think he's being genuine if Charlie Kirk tells you, I care about taking some of the money out of the military budget of the United States. I would like to reduce the U.S. military budget. So we can agree on that. Okay. Are you ever once gonna do anything to amplify that message once? All I ever see you talking about is trans kids all day, every single fucking day. Or talking about how you want to spread the racist conspiracy theory that Michelle Obama is a man. And transphobic conspiracy theory, I should add. Like, that's what I see Charlie Kirk doing. Or complaining that he's scared of flying in a plane if the pilot is black. Because, again, racist. He's a racist white supremacist. All that he's on brand, he's consistent, he's certainly got the same messaging day in, day out. Is it going to be misogyny? Is it going to be homophobia, transphobia, racism? You get it all with the Charlie Kirk show. Where is the bridge to be built there?
And they say, oh, Jake's just has this evil plan, and he's doing it for money, and he's a grifter, and he works with the CIA.
So many examples in history that fascists can't be trusted ever. Yes, thank you.
Or he works with this guy or that guy. Well, okay, now you're lying, and you're lying in like extreme ways. So like this whole thing of like Sam, for example, analogized me to a Nazi, but he's done 1,000 things. That's just one of them. And then when I go, hey, hold on. When I say cut that crap out, and they're like, oh, we're the victims. Oh, wait, I just said you were a grifter and that you're lying to people and you're cheating people. And I said you might be a Nazi and you're definitely a right winger. But I'm the.
When has anyone, can I get the quote? Does anyone have the quote? Sam Cedar calls Cenk a Nazi or implies that Cenk is a neo-Nazi. Please present it.
Innocent one. I can't believe Cenk counterattacked after I punched him in the face 20 times. I can't believe a poor little angel.
But he believes in saving Social Security and cutting the Pentagon. So can you give him credit for that and work with him?
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. So, I mean, if Sam's going to vote to save the Social Security and not cut Social Security, I'm not the guy who says, I don't want his vote, right? I just don't have to go on his stupid show and agree with his stupid ideas.
Then why Charlie Kirk? It's the exact same thing, except I would argue a much worse human being across the board in every fucking way.
But you just, again, stupid. Again, these are words that you reserve.
Okay,
why do you?
Randy, if I called you a Nazi and I said you're a right winger and you're secretly taking money from Pelosi and Charlie Kirk, then hey, and you said hey, and you got angry with me, wouldn't that be a rational reaction?
I think there's been a conflation
with reaction be, oh, I love Cenk. I love that he called me a Nazi. I can't wait to work with him. No, he's a.
Yeah, again, citation needed. I've seen this song and dance before, though, where people, like, they seem to have nothing but nonstop ire for the left, for leftists, for people who want to push for policies that apparently they agree with 95% of the time. And then with the right, oh, no, but we need to open the door. We need to bridge the gap. We need to be able to hear where they agree with us. And I was like, but if they agree with you like 5% of the time, and the rest of the time they're advocating for things that directly target the groups and the people and the brothers, the sisters, and the non-binary siblings that we're supposed to be fighting for and standing up for, they're monsters, right? It's like, hey, there's a person over there, he's 95% fascist, but the 5% is about him wanting, at this moment in time, to reduce, say, the military budget. Okay, over there's a person who's not fascist at all. Great takes across the board, and also wants the same things. It seems like better company, no?
Freaking grifter. That's all he's ever done. He literally told me that he was trying to take Jimmy Dore's audience because Jimmy's was bigger.
Good.
So he wanted to.
You remember what Jimmy Dore did to me? You remember the reason Jimmy Dore is. The reason Jimmy Dore was out the door was in part what he did to me, and you and I talked about that at the time. It was when he had to finally face the fucking music and be like, "Hey, you cannot bully another not employee but a contributor."
Granny? I stood up for you, right?
You did. It had to get bad, but you did. He had also been, he had been going the way of the dodo for a long time. But I just want to say, like, so it doesn't say anything about TYT, that there are these former employees who really, and I just want to back to the last thing I'm going to say is people really liked you. They really did. They really, and they looked up to you, and they thought of you as a comrade, a boss, a co-conspirator in this grand, political project to really change this country, to make it more democratic. It really is. I have to say, like, there's a thin line between love and hate. And even these channels that are hell bent on being like, Cenk's this, Cenk's that, you know what? They were all massive Cenk fans. I think we all are a little bit. And so I just want to say, like, it is sad to us to see you honestly act like very small when in fact you could be a lot bigger.
So Franny, I think you're being unbelievably unfair. So you're taking 6 people, 4 of whom are like clearly doing it for money, okay, and clearly doing it for attention. And
I'm not taking anyone. I'm asking you a question.
You accuse me of incredibly unfair things. Can you allow me to respond? Franny, you know the people inside TYT, they work here 15 years, 17 years, 20 years, 17 years, and they love working at TYT. And what these assholes are doing is pretending that we're bad bosses and we're bad to our employees and we're bad to everyone that works at TYT and we do all these things and we push them out. Bullshit. Every one of those people left and they said, oh, I'm going to be bigger and better than you. And then they viciously attacked not just me, but everyone that works at TYT. Why do you think Edwin and Bart and all those guys have been there for so long? We gave people 12 weeks of paid family leave when no one else was doing it. And we did it for moms. We did it for dads. I can go on and on. Franny, to say...
Like, in terms of the examples, by the way, like, a lot of those people didn't attack you until you attacked them. And even then, you've got this weird drama queen narrative of the whole thing where it's like, well, they called me a Nazi. I'm not allowed to push back. I'm not allowed to attack them. And it's like, but they didn't call you a Nazi. No one wants, like, still to this day, no one's called you a Nazi.
To make it seem like I'm pushing people out and that I'm the bad guy here, when in fact, you know for a fact that 98% of the people that work at TYT love TYT and try to stay there forever and ever and ever. Sometimes they'll go to a different company and go, whoa, holy shit, that's bad, and come back to TYT. So please be fair and honest with your audience, because working at TYT has been amazing for those people. And all we're getting is smeared by a couple of people who literally say, we want to tear down the network. We got 75 people here that we have to provide for. And they're trying to take food off their table because me, I'm going to tear down the left-wing network. Why don't you spend your time, those people that I'm talking about, tearing down the right wing, tearing down Trump, tearing down all these people, instead of sitting there.
Everyone does. Yeah, it's usually the majority of the coverage. It's just like, it's really insidious when someone who has a lot of like credit on the left starts to do what they're doing. It's also dangerous because it's a gift to the right. It justifies all of their beliefs. When you get someone who's like, oh, this is why I left the left, and honestly, they went too extreme. I thought I could have what I, thought was an acceptable and accepting group of people who care about other people. Turns out they're the real authoritarians. Turns out they're the ones who demand groupthink. Turns out they're the ones who need you to obey the orthodoxy. And if you stray, even ever so slightly, from the gender ideology they're pushing on everybody, then apparently you're Nazi. So yeah, what I thought was once, the freedom of speech of the left, turns out they're the censorious ones. And like that, it's the exact, like, you can watch beat for beat the Dave Rubin PragerU video, Why I Left the Left, and hear all the same talking points that we're hearing right now from Cenk and Anna, just once again recycled. It's just like, I thought they were all about acceptability, and it turns out they're the real authoritarians. And that shit does real damage because it gets used. It's the same insidiousness that you see from like a Jesse Singal, where it's like, oh, he's not an extremist. He's not a far righter. He's a liberal. He's a centrist. He just wants to get to the bottom of the truth. And then the same articles that he writes for The Atlantic and his transphobic bile gets used by the far right. They will then put it forward and be like, here is some more evidence towards our case. We need to restrict healthcare from trans people because it's not coming from a far right extremist. It's not coming from a discredited quack. It's coming from a liberal writer for The Atlantic who says that maybe everything is a little out of control. Maybe things have gone too far. Maybe you should be really careful with what you do. And then they can actually utilize that. And that's the danger in all of it.
going, oh, someone on the left is bigger than me. I'm going to tear them down. And that's what they're doing.
I think it's a really sore subject, but I did just want to ask, I think yesterday on Mark Lamont Hill's show, you did say that, that what your strategy has actually cost you and cost TYT some subscribers, and members, more importantly, who financially support the show. Speaking of putting food on 75 people's table, what is your reaction to that? I know anecdotally there are people who love and support my show, even though I truly don't talk about my disagreements with you. And God, Cenk, I've been over backwards. The reason my show is at 1 p.m. is because it's right before you, right in between when TYT doesn't have any show. I've bent over very backwards to accommodate TYT. But there are people who love my show who say, I had to stop supporting TYT for a lot of political disagreements. And what do you say to those people, or how does that make you feel?
I refuse to be wrong on purpose. So we lost a lot of members and paying subscribers when I started criticizing Obama from the left. And I said he shouldn't be drilling in the Gulf, and he shouldn't be bailing out the bankers without any consequences, etc. And people were outraged. But I didn't do it because I didn't know the term back then, but I know it now. It's called audience capture, and I'm not going to do it. So if you say at the time, people were like, no, be pro-Obama, be pro-Obama. I'm like, no, I'm not going to lie to you on purpose. And now some folks are saying, no, tell us the far left is totally right. And then
I hate the self-righteousness of this fucking argument where it's not true. You just absolutely know it's not true. You know how I know it's not true? Because he was saying the exact opposite of this not but a few months ago when he was accepting lots of money from his own fan base to run for president of the United States to try and stop Trump because Trump was a fascist. Trump was a fascist. He kept using that term, fascist, fascist, fascist. He's a fascist who's going to enact fascism in our country. I have to do whatever I can. I am a break-in case of emergency candidate. You got to help me out. Let's fundraise all the money. Let's get me in there. I'm going to kick out the other candidates, and we got to get someone else and Joe Biden to be able to run against Trump. That's what we have to do. You were saying that shit. And then all of a sudden Trump comes into power and, well, maybe MAGA's populist. I just didn't see it before. My eyes have opened. I've been awakened. And now this is not audience capture. This is not me trying to, pivot or maybe justify the fact that it's now the Polymarket Studios and a lot of my own fans might be upset at me, peddling cryptocurrency gambling websites as part of the branding of the show. The home of the left is now known as the home of the cryptocurrency gambling website peddlers. I, in fact, have seen that there's more on the other side that people weren't willing to tell me about, and I want to have a beer with them. I got 3 rules and explaining it to you all. I know a lot of people are upset. A lot of people are outraged. A lot of people are really, really mad about this, but that's what I think and believe now.
That like there is no crime and on and on and on, right? No, I'm not.
That is what the left says.
Wrong. And so I'm not going to do audience capture, and I'm not going to say that. And so how could I be a grifter and say at the same time, I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of money that I'm super worried about for all of us at TYT to do the right thing? That's the exact opposite of grifting. That's saying I'm standing on principle. I'm standing on what I think is the real viewers of TYT and representing them. And Franny, what you're not seeing is there's so many people on the left who are afraid to state their real opinions because they're going to get shellacked online. All the far left is going to come out and call them a right winger and a fascist, etc. They're so.
That's rejection, buddy. What beliefs do you have that you're deep down like? That reminds me of that Anna quote where she was just like, I feel like I don't know what to say around black people now. It's like, why? What? Do you not have black friends? Or like, maybe I've got privilege. Okay, I've got the privilege of having a very culturally diverse group of friends. I don't think about this shit at all. I don't sit there like, can't say the wrong words. Could be castrated for slipping up. And also, we all fuck up. Everyone fucks up. I have fucked up a ton. I'm not trans. I advocate for trans rights, but I'm not trans. I'm a cis guy. So yeah, I have fucked up so many times along the way, and I've been called out by trans colleagues and friends and allies and people who are like, "Oh, Lance, sorry, but it's not appropriate for you to make that kind of a joke." And guess what you gotta do? You gotta take your lashings. They bring out the cat o' nine tails. It's harsh, but then after you do, you're still welcomed inside the bosom of the left. No, you just delete the tweet and you issue a correction, or you apologize, or you say, oh yeah, sorry, by the way, I apologize, I was unaware that, like, as a cis person, I'm not allowed to make that joke, that's just done within the trans community. I'm sorry, I apologize, I didn't know that by simply posting pictures of trans people and telling right-wingers that, hey, by the way, look at these bodies, aren't they hot, you want to blah blah, I'm sexualizing and hypersexualizing trans people, and then I'm making that part of the trans. I didn't know that, I apologize. It's that easy. And then right afterwards, they're not like, well, how many more lashings will you accept, Lance, before we welcome you back in? That's not what happens. It's such a weird thing to push that narrative.
Scared to actually state their own opinions, because the far left has so much more power than they realize in terms of the social media ecosystem.
Sure,
right?
I agree. And I do think that it would benefit all of us to be a little bit less online, because I do think there is a real left. They are in labor unions.
Like, I can tell you a really quick example. I used to use the term beast mode because I think it's an awesome term and how it sounds. And then I had a black content creator tell me, oh, Lance, you can't use that term. That was invented by a black football player, and it's supposed to be related to this. You shouldn't just be using it for anything you want. Don't do that. And guess what I had to do afterwards? Just not use it. It was so hard. Oh God, what? But I love this term. I must be able to say it. How dare you take it? Like, no. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. I was unaware. I'm not going to use that term anymore. Oh wow, that was not really hard at all, actually.
They work in homes. They they are serving people Starbucks, right? Like there are real leftists.
Yes.
They are, let's be real, they are on the streets demonstrating for Palestinian human rights. They've been on the streets, although I know this gets into prickly territory, but they've been on the streets saying things like defund the police, saying things like Black Lives Matter. And I know you might disagree with them, but there are real leftists who don't just live online. And so I hear you about, I absolutely concede our movements. We always talk about this. How can our movements be more attractive? Be, as Michael Albert, who wrote this book called Participatory Economics, he used to say, how do we make the left sticky? Like sticky, where people want to be there and stay there. And it's for sure, it's by not over policing one another, and it's by meeting people where they're at. And I think that is absolutely true. But for me, it is not about, it's not about, what I see is conceding to a right-wing framing within the ceiling of Trumpism, because there's always a ceiling, and that ceiling is Donald Trump.
But Franny, I'm not conceding, and facts have to matter. Facts have to matter.
Well,
like, you're painting me as a collaborator when I haven't collaborated at all. All I've done is argue for our positions. And in fact, you showed a couple of times when I argued for our positions, right? And if you showed all the right-wing shows that I was on, you would see me fighting for left-wing positions on right-wing shows that no one's ever done. And do you know that on the Patrick
I've been on
that no one's ever done. I mean, I've seen both you and Anna go on a bunch of other shows and use them as opportunities to shit on the left, which does not benefit anyone's cause. It just it validates right-wing beliefs, and it makes leftists look like, these out-of-touch clowns who demand purity, and you must follow the order, and if you stray from it, they will come after you, and all that shit.
Piers Morgan, I do that a lot.
So, if you count Piers Morgan, I totally agree with you. So on Patrick Bet Davis show, I made, the second to last time I was on, I made a case for paid family leave. They polled their audience. 75% of that right-wing audience said, yes, we should pass paid family leave. Who else has done that? And for that, I get called a collaborator, and I implicate.
First off, if that's true, if their audience, and what was the pre-polling, but if their audience pre-polling was at like 1% support, and then after you came on the show, it's a 72% support, good. No one's going to criticize that. No one has a problem with that. Here's what people have a problem with. Like, people are very clear about what the issue is. It's like, why is the left coming after me? I go on these shows, and when I go on these shows, I successfully convince them. I went from whatever it was to 72% support. That's a net benefit. Everyone is on board with that. You did a good thing there, and then this is a bad thing. You shouldn't just be like, this normalizes these motherfuckers, these gross-ass extremists. This is a white supremacist. The guy is a fucking monster. You shouldn't sit across from him and be like, how could we enjoy a good cold beer together? I can't have one with Sam Cedar. That guy's an extremist. But you, sir, he of the shrinking face, you seem to know what's up. Yeah, I'm ready to collaborate.
Is that also the goal?
So the strategy is to coalesce populists on the thing. Now I'm saying it for the 200th time because it's not getting through.
So well, it's not about audience then. It's not about maybe getting some of their audience. Because I understand, I don't know what you're talking about in like what framework. You know,
So-
are you a movement leader? Are you going to
Yes.
start a political party, or are you just the head of an online channel? I mean, the latter is what we know to be true, right?
Yeah. So look, when Jimmy left and other people left, oh yeah, Young Turks is going down, blah 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 blah. No, it was total nonsense. Never had any issues. Here, this is a giant fight, and we do have issues. Okay, and so that is standing on principle. No, it's not like I didn't know that we were going to get into this huge issue, right? And that the other left-wing hosts were going to take this as a great opportunity to try to whittle us down. And so we've gone through all that, and we've done that. So why am I doing it? Number one, because I believe absolutely that it is the right strategy and the right policy, and to the ultimate goals that you're asking about. Franny, number one, we've got to win the primary in 2028. So,
Sure.
So why am I saying things where I go, hey, I am center left and I do not agree with far left? Because I believe far left will be used, and you can disagree. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. Kyle Kalinske disagreeing, no problem. You disagreeing, no problem. Jordan,
Hassan
everybody
disagrees,
disagrees, no problem. It's
Yeah.
only when they lie and they do bad faith is when I've got the issue. Okay. So you guys disagree, no problem, guys. Okay. But my goal is, number one, in order to win that primary, we've got to convince the normies that we're not going to release all the criminals. I know it sounds like hyperbole, and I know that really bothers.
No, it's just like no one's on the other side of the crime issues. Like, oh, the max left wants to tell you that crime isn't real, that people don't get punched in the streets, and they want to protect those people, and it's racist if you say. It's like, no, okay, look, the reason the center left is just like a joke of an idea is because at the end of the day, what are your goals? Are your goals as a political advocate, as a media figure, to end all unjust hierarchies, to end all forms of oppression, to start working towards a better life for everybody? Because in turn, it'll benefit humanity rather than benefit the super rich. If it's anything other than that, there's not like half measures, and like that's what got us into the situation that we're currently in, where we live in this new gilded age, where wealth concentration is in the hands of 1% of the population that has the same wealth as 99% of the population. Everyone along the pathway who doesn't want to like change that is basically collaborators. People who want to be like, okay, well, I'm fine with that as long as I gets mine. I'm fine with that as long as I can have like a chunk that I can carve out for myself. And then, yeah, if you're trying to continuously try to end all of it, well, then fuck that noise. No, because then you're maxing the left. And it's like, well, then what? You just like civil rights for some, human rights for a few, a crumb of equality, because that's what it sounds like. The same thing as the pitch put by centrists, who just turn out to usually be right-wingers.
People, but that's how they're thinking. That's why Oakland recalled their mayor 65-35, because now they started to think that the word progressive means release the criminals. No, it doesn't mean that. It means Medicare for all. It means paid family leave. It means higher wages. So that's why I have to distinguish in order to win that primary between the center left and the far left. And also because it's true, I am center left. And the great majority of those voters are center left. They do not agree with the far left on some of the extreme trans issues, crime issues, etc.
You don't think that
when we get to the general election, just to finish the thought, when we get to the general election, can we win over some of those former Bernie people that went to the right wing? Can we win over the independents and moderates that are not MAGA but voted for Trump because they says Trump was more anti-establishment than Kamala Harris was? Can we win those guys over so that our side wins? I believe we can, but and I'll use myself as an example again.
No, this is what no class consciousness does to a motherfucker. Like, primary example of it. It's like, why was Bernie Sanders capable of reaching new people who weren't even tapped in politically? What about his message was resonating with people? And it's because he didn't talk about the woke, and people are tired of the woke. And that's the problem with the max left, is they want a purity test. They want to talk about the wokeness and all this kind of shit. And that's why we need to get rid of that. Admit the center left, who knows that crime is real, and we need to stop stop the criminals and not release them all from jails is a reality, and we can then gain more people by like appealing. No, this is the same thing that was part of the Harris campaign that everyone kind of identified as being like it's a disaster. People don't want Republican light. People don't want moderate light. People aren't looking for that. They're looking for, like, why is it that messaging resonated with people? If one guy kept saying the world is unequal, you're right. There are elites. You're right. There is problems in society. You're right. But guess what? It's not the Jews. It's not the lizard people. It's not the Illuminati. It's not any of that. It's the 1% versus the 99%. And I want to take on the 99%. Suddenly a lot of people are like, whoa. Yes. Oh, thank fuck. Someone is saying it. Okay, yeah, I'm interested in this. That's really different than being like, and we have to admit that trans people have gone too far. Wait, what? What did that have to do with it? No. But like, it's not a popular, like, come on, you know, the they, them, like, we have to admit that, like, the trans ideology thing is it's just not a winning ticket. No, you're giving in to the right-wing framing of all of this. Like that was not part of his message. He can be trans rights or human rights and still have the exact same message. The message remains the exact same. There's going to be overall more class oppression, but it doesn't mean that other vectors of oppression aren't real and we shouldn't care about them. Like, at what point does it become that?
So when they tried the Muslim ban, I have every right to call them Islamophobe from here to the end of the earth. I have every right to be concerned about me and my family, okay? But I don't believe it's the right strategy to call them Islamophobes and to push them away. I think the correct strategy is to go in the room, get some agreement on some things that we agree on, and then fight over the things.
My head is, I'm confused. Yeah. Look, when they do things that are Islamophobic, I have every right to call them Islamophobes, and I will. But I don't think it's a good idea to call them Islamophobes. And so what we should do, like, okay, so just wait, do you want, is a vibe? Do you want to just feel it? Be like, yeah, those guys are bigots, but I should be in the room with the bigots because only then can I reach out and find where we agree in the juicy center. That's the whole point.
We don't agree on, but treat each other as American citizens and human beings. And then at the end go, hey, by the way, I'm Muslim, okay? So do you think someone like me should be banned from the country? And when you do it that way, 9 out of 10 times they go, well, no, of course not. Of course not. But if I came in and said, you're an Islamophobe and you're a racist and a bigot, they'd say, ban this mother effer, right? And so I just think it's, you guys have the wrong.
Oh, okay. Sorry. This is a thing called audience capture. I believe that's the term. You're going for audience capture. That's what this sounds like, is audience capture. I'm sorry. I don't want to be in bad faith or anything, but that's exactly what this sounds like.
Strategy and some wrong policies, but that's a normal part of a healthy debate. We could have had that debate without people making wild accusations.
Well,
that was your channel though, bro. I know, because I was on it. When I go on the power panel, I was never like, whoa, Lance, sorry, don't use the term bigot. Do not use the term racist. We don't use the R word or the B word, okay, on the show. We prefer to reach out to that side, okay? And as we watch this horrifying clip of Charlie Kirk being super racist, don't call him a racist. Don't call him, because if you do, he'll close the door and we can't talk to him in the juicy center. She'll make sure that you're very nice to him, all right? Don't call him he of the shrinking head like you have been doing, and get in there. And then we can just stew together in this wonderful fucking fascist stew.
Instead of just saying we disagree, the collaborator, right-wing fascists, etc.
I really hope that you do, and I hope, let's leave it. I really do hope that you can get past what you feel are slights, to actually speak to some of the people that you're talking about, to be in more rooms with leftists who you may disagree with, and more people who are ultimately on your side. I've had the same conversation with Van Jones back in 2016, man. It's like I'm deja vuing all over again, where I told him the left is more on your side than the right. And he's like, no, the left wants to tear me down. But anyway, Cenk, it's really great to have such a candid, open conversation. I like that we can both be very Mediterranean about it and get like super mad, but then rein it in and be cool. And then be like, we're like, yeah, we're just going to yell and then we're going to be fine. And then we're going to get over it. So that's the kind of beer I like to have.
Yes. Thank you.
And but not with Charlie Kirk. And I will leave it at that. Everybody, you can check out all of the interviews. You don't have to, it does not hearsay. watch for yourselves and see Cenk, and obviously every single.
I think Fran did awesome. I mean, I think she articulated a lot of the worries that everyone has and just said it to his face, and you could see that he did not. He wasn't receptive to any of it, which kind of sucks. You know, even the opening where she's like, I'm just kind of looking for humanity. And he's like, oh, you give me nothing in return. I don't think that there's any getting through to Cenk on this issue, because he's clearly... One of two things are happening. He is delusional to what any of these terms or words mean, or he is with intent and strategically doing what he wants to do, and that's what I believe it is. I think that it speaks volumes to think that Sam Cedar is a extremist and a maximalist and you know, beyond being able to have a conversation with, and Charlie Kirk is calm and moderate, and you know, Josh Hawley. Fucking hell. These are the people whom they are populists, and they care more about, you know, appealing to their demographics and helping people than they care about their own far right agendas. And that will be shown, and only truth will be able to tell. And everyone knows, because it's not as if any of these motherfuckers are in any way secretive about their beliefs. Charlie Kirk is very, very open about his racism, his bigotry, his homophobia, his transphobia, all that shit. He's not like, oh, well, I wonder what he believes deep down in his core. Again.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This independent series is made entirely possible thanks to our patrons. It was produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Bohem, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, and Words Greenwood. Not to mention all the other patrons we now see on screen. We couldn't have done this show without you. If you can help support the show, please check out patreon.com/the Serfs to unlock bonus secret episodes, as well as get the content before anyone else.